no one else is concerned about the heads. But anyway, absolute fuckassery. I don't like it here. It's muy clicky. Word editing. Okay, let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is March recap. Am I a little bit late? Yes. Is it because every single day of last week I convinced myself I was dying? Yes. So we're gonna pretend that didn't happen, and we're just gonna vibe, and we're just gonna go from here. This is my pile of the month, and you might be like, that is very little to have like a whole video about. 2 books is great. If you're reading 2 books a month, you're great. I'm just talking about making a video about it. That's because I read 6 books, but 5 of them were on my Kindle. To be fair, I read all 6 on my Kindle. I just happened to have this one physical as well. I don't own any of the others to show them off. But look at this one. I have the Pretty Lilac. Don't know how much it's gonna show on camera, but it's beautiful. I have a lot to say about this. I have a lot to say. Anyway, let's get started so that I don't yap on and on and on for ages. The first book I read in March was Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. And one thing about me is I love Kingfisher's writing. She's incredible. However, I'm also a weenie. And she has something about her that is just really, really creepy in her writing. The book is basically about a paladin whose god has died. So Stephen is the paladin in question, and his god is dead. Rip. And now him and his brothers and sisters in arms are all basically like aimless paladins. If you don't know what a paladin is, what's the best way to put what a paladin is? They swear a vow to a god, and they like obey a certain code of conduct that the god signs with them, and it gives them powers. So Stephen is a paladin of the god of steel, who is like a war god, and he grants them the ability to go berserk, or like rage, basically. He can go berserk and rage, but the god would like keep them in check, make sure they don't kill any innocents, they're just doing their job. But now the god is dead, rip, very sad. So the paladins are going berserk and are losing their minds, and Stephen is terrified of this happening to him. Can I just say, the fact that this man is called Stephen is actually the best. Like, I don't know what possessed Kingfisher to be like, I'm gonna make a paladin, I'm gonna call him Stephen. And I just think that's genius. I just love it. I love that he's a paladin and his name is Steve. Like, that's all I can think about. Anyway, him and his besties, all the other steel god paladins people, are all working at the Temple of the Rat, and they're like providing help. They're helping out where they can. They're doing like random kind of like mercenary work, even though they're not mercenaries, in order to pay back for the grace that the rat is giving them. That sounds insane. For living in his temple, basically. Grace, who is our female main character, is a perfumer. She would be a master perfumer, but shit went down that we do not know of yet, and she's not yet a master perfumer. And she has a civet who is like a ferret cat kind of mixed thingy. I'm also looking at my notes. I'm sorry. I feel like I should be looking here, but I have too much to say. Not enough brain. But she has a civet who does have a name. I just don't remember the name of it. It's a really fun creature. And she has Margaret, who is like her landlady and her best friend, who is a spy. And openly a spy. And she's like, yeah, Grace, I'm a spy. Let me help you with your stuff. So Stephen gets kind of roped into a murder mystery. There's a murder on the loose, and people's heads just pop up. Like, people are dying, and there's just like random heads just like popping up here and there. And Stephen is really concerned about it, which I think is the appropriate response for this. But no one else is concerned about the heads that are just popping up in town, because they explain it in the book as that like this is the poor part of town, and no one really cares about poor people, capitalism and all of that. So Stephen is really the only one who's concerned about the heads. But yeah, shit goes down. He meets Grace. They look at each other and they just know They don't, but they do have a little bit of like an instant attraction. But you know, we can't love each other because we have our roles. And Steven is like convinced he's gonna kill everyone, and Grace is going through her own shit, and they can't be together because that would be really dramatic. But obviously, they love each other very very much. They're so cute. It was such a cute and wholesome book, and it did take a little bit to pick up, but I didn't mind it. And I'm someone who's like not much for cozy, but this was sold to me as a cozy romance. I will say I don't think it's that cozy because that ending, I finished it at like 3 a.m. and I couldn't sleep afterwards because it was really creepy. The ending is really, really creepy. And yes, I am a weenie, and that is on me. And I attest to that. I do get scared really easily. But that ending was so creepy. I'm not going to say what happens, but anyway, it was something. It was wild. But yeah, it's like a little murder mystery fantasy cozy romance that turns into a horror movie by the end. I also have to mention her because she's honestly the best characters in this entire book is the Archbishop, which is something like for me to say because if you know me, I feel like you guys probably won't know me, but like my friends who are gonna be watching this are gonna be like, you like a religious figure? That is new because I hate people on principle. And a lot of religious figures I hate on principle. But the Archbishop of the Rat, queen. Absolute queen. Whatever you want, bestie, I will do for you. She is an icon. Every single thing she says in this book, I've highlighted because everything she says, she's dropping the best words. That everyone, so good. She's incredible. We love her. And that was Paladin's Grace. Second, oh, this is where it gets interesting. This is where shit starts actually going down. We, like me and my friends, my RL friends, have a little book club. We meet up once in a while and read a book together. And we went through a lot of Sarah J. Maas books. They were so bad. It was horrendous. Oh, anyway, we don't need to talk about that bitch. That is Sarah J. Maas. But we read all of, like, a bunch of her books. We read, like, all of ACOTAR and all of Crescent City. It was a whole thing. And then we were like, let's read a good book. And we read Mistborn. We got like 10% in and we all DNF'd it except for one of us. And the only reason she kept on reading it is because there was a romance, strong word for what was happening. But we all DNF'd it. So this time around, we were like, let's pick something stupid because we do so much better when we pick a book that is just stupid, right? We picked Zodiac Academy. And I fear I'm really enjoying it. I'm saying this as I changed it right now to take the thumbnails, but I'm reading the second one right now. I'm embarrassed. It's so bad. It's like one of the worst things I have ever read in my life. But it's so entertaining. It is so entertaining. I'm trying to read through my notes. My first thing that I wrote as a note is absolute fuckassery. This is how I feel about this book. A second note, such memeable, much wow. So yeah, think every single fandom you can think of. Problematic and non-problematic, you put them in a blender. You add some like subpar Wattpad level, not Wattpad, subpar, like it's below the Wattpad level writing, and you get this book. And it is absolute trash. It is so bad. And you follow those two twin sisters. It's written by sisters, and we follow twin sisters so Tori and Darcy. Yes, Tori and Darcy. They're basically like, Ebony Darkness Dementia Raven, YN, that's who they are. Literally, they have no personality. They're so pick me. They get scooped up by Professor Hot Dimples, and turns out they're Fae and they're the heirs to this kingdom of Soleria, which every time I read Soleria, I'm like, Winx? They're related to Stella? No, they're not. They just took the name of Winx. I don't know why, but they did. And they get sent to Zodiac Academy, obviously, because they need to go to Zodiac and complete their like studies at Zodiac, so that they can inherit their fortune and their throne, because they were taken as babies and thrown into the world. It does not make sense, but it is what's happening. And they get there, and it's basically It's basically like Hogwarts, but worse. Like it's more dramatic. Um, Side note, we don't. I feel bad saying Hogwarts. We don't like J.K. Rowling in this household, but it is the best way to explain it. It's like that kind of like school, right? And they meet all of those very hot fae people, and they're obviously most of them are men, and they're put into those houses that are like elemental. So we have fire, water, air, earth. Every time I read that, I was like, everyone was at peace until the Fire Nation attacked. Again, every fandom you can think of, you put them together, and that's what you get. Um, Everyone is bullying them. They're all the hot men hate them. It's very dramatic. But they are so awestruck, and all like the girlies, they're so awestruck by all of the hot guys that are bullying them and trying to fucking kill them. But they're like, oh my god, they're so hot. We need to get laid. They have no thought, just vibes. But yeah, I am really tempted. So I'm reading the second one right now. Sorry, this is a rant. This is me moving from subject to subject. I'm reading the second one right now, and I don't know if anyone's interested. If you are interested, you can feel free to put down in the comments below. I feel so professional saying this, but I really want to do one of those unhinged plot recaps for these books. I don't know if it's actually going to happen, but I am having a lot of fun writing down my notes for that. So might happen, might not. Who knows? Hopefully it will. My favorite character, Diego. I don't know when they pick him up, but he's like this random dude that they just pick up and like put in their friend group. And I think he's Latino. It shouldn't be funny, but he is written in such a way that is like really, really borderline racist. And every time he speaks, he just incorporates Spanish words. So he'd be like saying a sentence and he'll say something in Spanish and he'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to switch. And listen, I can't speak on many things. I'm not an expert of many things. But one thing I can speak on is being multilingual. I speak 4 languages, okay? I can guarantee you there isn't a single time in my life where I said a sentence and I was like, oh, I forgot. Let me just change that. I forgot you don't speak this. No, that's not how it works. Like, yes, sometimes I'm like, I have no fucking clue how to say this in English because all I can think of is Arabic. But I'm not gonna be like, yeah, I'm not gonna randomly start speaking Arabic. Like, what? Anyway, my favorite quote by Diego is, they were asking him, like, how do you like the school here? And he's like, I don't like it here. It's muy cliquey. And when I tell you, that's become the meme in the group chat. That's all we can say now. It's muy cliquey. So yeah, these sisters trying to survive in this school. Every time someone tries to kill them, they're like, oh, maybe they didn't mean it. No, girl, they did. They did really, really mean it. It gets worse in book 2. I won't get into it, but it gets worse. And yeah, we have the werewolf, the Pegasus, the siren, the dragon. Those are the guys. Obviously, they're the heads of their houses. Hashtag no plot, just vibes. They have this thing called Facebook, and every time Facebook gets mentioned, they write like actual social media posts, and they have hashtags, and every single time a hashtag is in, they're so funny. It is so bad, but really enjoying it. Would not recommend it for the life of me. Don't waste your time. But if you need something that's gonna absolutely like, destroy your mind, you could read that. That's the next book I read was actually high fantasy, and it's Blood of the Old Kings by Kim Sung-il. And it's a translation from Korean. Don't make my mistake. This is an unfinished series. I made that mistake. I'm suffering the consequences right now because the second book comes out in October, I believe. I didn't realize how obvious Manfred is, but that's Manfred. And that's the common cold. Sorry, very random. I feel like I had to mention the skeleton that's been staring at you this entire time. That's my son. Anyway, Blood of the Old Kings. Set in an empire that runs off necromancy. They have this system in the books. I think there's another book that uses this system. I don't remember which one, but I do remember because I had this idea of a story that I wanted to write, and I told my best friend, and she's like, oh, it's this book. And I was reading this. I'm like, oh, that's my idea that I never told anyone except for my best friend about, that apparently already existed. So it's not my idea, but you know what I mean. But they have the system where sorcerers get trained in the Empire. The sorcerers get trained, they get recruited as kids, sent to the school, they get trained. Once they die, their bodies are used to produce energy to fuel everything else that's happening in the world. So it literally runs off necromancy. And we have three POVs. So we have Ariane, who is a student at the School of Sorcery. She was taken as a kid. She's set to serve in life and in death as a power generator. And now she has the voice of a really long dead sorcerer stuck in her head, telling her, hey, I have a different option for you. Do you want to do this instead? Then we have Lauren, who's a widowed swordswoman who decides to brave a volcano and the dragon inside of it to become the new king of Arlen, which is her like region in the map. It's one of the kingdoms that was annexed into the empire. So she wants to become the new king of Arlen by working with the dragon and freeing Arlen from the empire. And then we have Kane, who's an Arlander in the capital of the empire. He is a man that just like gets things done and keeps hidden. He doesn't really want to be anyone's business. He just wants to survive. But after his mentor slash best friend gets murdered, he decides to find out who did it, and he gets tangled up in the whole mess that starts happening. It's a very, very slow start of a book. The first 60%, you are kind of sat there trying to understand what in the world is happening. Who are these people? Why am I reading this? It takes a really long time to, start moving. The writing is quite flowery. I think that really comes from the translation. My Korean is not good enough to be reading it in Korean, but one day we'll get there. But yeah, it's very much like I really like the way this was done, but the author really took character archetypes and ran with them and like built characters based on archetypes in a good way. I feel like this doesn't sound good, but it was done really, really well. It's really well written. I loved all of the characters. But Lauren, my bestie, she's the best one. She's so much fun. Every time she would pop up, I was like, yes, let's go. Ariane, I think, doesn't do much until. That's not true. She's probably the one who gets started the fastest. But it doesn't feel like she's doing much until past 60% of the book. The ending, so good. The last third of the book, you really start connecting the dots and you're like, oh my god, like this is connected to this, and like these people start interacting that you have seen before, and you start like retracing how everything interconnects in this world, and it's so good when you get there. But getting there is hard. I believe I've seen a few people that gave up, and I think that's fair. But I do think it's worth it. I do think it's really a setup for high fantasy. So if that's what you like, I think you would definitely enjoy it. So book number 4, we have got Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. I picked this up because I realized one day before it happened, trans reading marathon going on, and I couldn't fully participate, sadly, because there was a lot happening for me that week, but I really wanted to read at least one book from a trans author, so I picked up Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas, and it was so good. It's been on my radar for ages, this and Sunbearer Trials, and really, really good. It's as good as I thought it was going to be. We have our three main characters. We've got Yadriel, who's like the real main character. Yadriel, Maritza, his cousin. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this right. I'm hoping I am. And Julian. If I start saying words in a weird accent, it's because we watched a Barbie movie the night before I read this. And one of the characters had a really, really, really shitty Italian accent. And now it's stuck. Every time I read words from this book, I end up speaking in a really bad Italian accent. So Yadriel and Maritza are from a Latinx family of Brooks. They worship the goddess of death, and they have like powers linked to it, granted to them by the goddess. Women are healers, and men can help spirit pass and like fight spirits. They can all see spirits, and they live in a cemetery, which I think is quite iconic of them. Like, slay, well done for you. And Maritza and Yadriel are the black sheep in her family. Maritza is a healer, but she refuses to heal because to heal you need to use animal blood, and she's vegan, so she's not gonna do that. Which iconic. And you might be like, use your own blood, but no, she can't because that's too powerful. So it's actually explained in the book because that's what my first thought was like. What if you just use your blood, but too powerful? The author thought of it. And Yadriel is trans, so therefore no one really knows what to do with him. Like they want to make him a bruja. Bruja? Is that how you say it? Yeah. To make him a healer, but obviously he doesn't want to be with the women because he's not a woman. He's a guy. So he's very desperate to prove himself, and he does his own, like he goes through his own little ceremony without telling anyone. And the two of them stumble into Julian's ghost. And he goes to school with them and he's not meant to be dead. So they're really like, what are you doing here and why are you dead? Right? What is going on in the House of Commons? Yadriel decides the best way to prove to his family that he is worthy of being a brujo is to help Julian pass on. So they start off on their little adventure of figuring out how to help Julian pass into the next life. And Julian and Yadriel, my babies, they're so cute. And Julian is so iconic. Everything this man says is just gold. So I really, I love them very much. They're my children. The book is so well written. It's very funny. It's very emotional. It's very witty. I love the ending. I believe there's a second one coming, which I'm definitely going to be reading it. I'm definitely going to pick up Sunbury Trials as well. That was the Sunbury Trials. That was Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. After that, I literally just wanted something really short and really funsy. And I got one of those two things. I did not get the funsy part, but I wanted something quite short. And I wanted to pick up 6 Deaths of a Saint because I've heard so much good about it. And I realized it's part of a series. So I was like, let me pick up the first one, even though I'm pretty sure I could have read it without reading the first one, but completionist, what can I say? So I picked up The Garden by Tommy Champion Adeyemi. And it's like a half poetry, half novel book. But like all of it is telling the same story, but it goes from like, poetry to whatever the word for it is. I can't remember it right now. But it's the story of this girl that's going after a mythical garden that her mom disappeared in. And I can see what the author was trying to do with this, right? I really don't think they achieved it. It was very go girl, give us nothing. She has like a guide who's helping her go somewhere. And when he was described at the beginning, I fully pictured this like 50-ish, year old man who was weirdly hitting on her. I don't think he was meant to be older than her. I think he's like a year or two older than her or something. And they do have like this, it's a really weird relationship. It's a really weird book. And I don't think it achieves anything that it wanted to achieve. But to be fair, she only had like 40 pages to do it. But yeah, not really, not great. Not much. The best book that I read this month, which is saying something because this was a strong month, right? Like Cemetery Boys, loved. Paladin's Grace, so good. Blood of the Old Kings, really strong. But our winner, our favorite of the month, Crystal Sutherland, Invocations. And I knew I would eat this up. This has been on my shelf waiting for a rainy day because I knew I would eat it up. Because House of Hollow, I read like 3 years ago, I want to say. And I still think about it every single day. I adore House of Hollow. It's one of my like all-time favorite books. And so I was really excited to read this and I had heard so much good. And it's so good. It's a very strong 5-star for me. It's so delicious. It's the best way to put it. It's so delicious and it's so creepy. This is another case of be better than me. If you're a weenie, don't read this at night. Because I did not sleep for an entire week because of this. Because I had to convince myself that no demons were coming to kill me. Which I know sounds dramatic, but I'm just a very anxious person. This did not help. This made me very, very scared of the dark. But it was great. It was so good. Yeah, House of Hollow, I remember it being a little bit gory towards like the second half of the book. It does have a little bit of like botanical horror to it. Um, this was another level. This was gory. This was like in-depth explanation of how bodies decompose. Kind of gore. So look out for that. If you don't want to, if you don't want any of that, don't read this. If you don't like, check the trigger warnings. Check the trigger warnings. I feel like there has to be quite a few for this. Yeah, there we go. This book contains themes and descriptions that some readers may find triggering: body horror, misogyny, femicide, intimate partner violence, familial abuse, mild, self-harm, mild, stalking, mild, bereavement, decay, crime scenes, confinement, cannibalism, and addiction. So that's your warning. Really good though. Worth it. Worth not sleeping for a week. Crystal, you ate. We have 3 POVs again. So we have Emir, Zara, and Jude. So Zara is a lost kid who is going through hell. She is forced to live with her abusive uncle because her aunt, who is her great aunt, who was taking care of her after their mom abandoned them, died. So Zara's trying to escape living with her uncle, but also at the same time she is trying to find a way to revive her sister Savannah, who got murdered less than a year ago, because she has exactly 1 year to bring Savannah back from the dead. She's researching necromancy and she realizes she has 1 year window to bring Savannah back from the dead before her body is too decomposed to be bringing her back from the dead. I look transparent, whatever. And she's starting to stress and she's really going in down the whole necromancy path. She's basically Edward Elric. If you've watched, this is such a random connection I just made. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. She's Edward Elric. Edward Elric. Jude, she used to be a normal, rich, posh kid. She lived in this like mansion near Regent's Park, I think. It's set in London, by the way. Forgot that random thing to forget to mention. It's set in London. But she grew up like with glittery parties, and her dad owns like one of the greatest fortunes, and she has like 11 brothers or something. She cast a spell on herself for funsies, and that did not go well. And she is left with this like festering wound, is the best way to put it. But her entire thigh, from hip to knee, is like rotting and black, and she tied herself to a demon that is starving with like an invocation gone wrong. So she is rotting and everything around her is rotting because she's cursed. So the walls of her flat are like moist. Like, it's really disgusting, honestly, how it's described. But Jude is like rotting, and she's trying to find a way to cure herself and to free herself from the demon and the pain, because she's in a lot of pain. Obviously, her entire body is like rotting from the inside out. So she is, desperately trying to find a cure and a way to break herself free from those 3 demons. So she has the one in her leg, and then she attaches herself to 2 others trying to break this one. So you're not usually supposed to have more than 1 demon, and yet here she is. And finally, Amir, she's the last witch in her coven who got murdered. Like, when she was a kid, she had her coven with her family, and they all got murdered by a bunch of witch hunters. And she's the last surviving witch of her coven, and she works in the shadows in Oxford. She's in hiding. And she's trying, like, she provides invocations to women for free to help them in their lives, like if they need any, like if they're getting abused, if they need to escape, if they need any help in life and everything. She provides free invocations. And they cross paths when a murderer starts targeting Amir's clients, and they end up sticking together because they have common goals and they can help each other. And obviously form our beautiful little found family. They're so cute. They're adorable, which is a really strong thing to say for a book where, a lot of murders and a lot of gore. But they're tracking this murderer who is horrendous. there's like skinning. He's like skinning parts of these women. So the first like 60-ish% of the book are like this necromancy murder mystery where, you know, you can see the little found family working. And then from there on, it just goes. It's just wild. So much happens. And then it goes in ways that you did not expect. Like, I did not expect it to go that way, but it did. And it was really good. Like, the final confrontation was absolute insanity. Like I said, don't read this at 3 a.m. Unless you're a lot stronger of a person than I am. Don't do this to yourself. I was really, really stressed by the end of this. This is probably why I tried reading 2 books after this, and this was so good that I DNF'd 2 books. So the April video, y'all, I have a lot to say. But that's how we ended up back in Zodiac Academy, because I needed something mind-numbing because this really fucked with my brain. But yeah, it was really good. I know it's probably not gonna happen because I don't feel like Crystal Sutherland would write about a man. But Jude's dad, give me that prequel. I will read it. I'm obsessed. But yeah, the thing you're gonna take from this book, demons are kinder than men. That's it. That's what I learned from this. And I will stand by that. So yeah, that was my March recap, all of the books I read in March. Honestly, really strong month. 4 out of the 6 were really, really good books that I loved. Yeah, I think we had 2 5 stars and like 2 4.5 stars. That's pretty strong. And then there's Zodiac, which is, you know, like a 2. Great fun, but terrible. The color grading on this is gonna go crazy because I look pale as fuck. And like, I know I am, but like, I'm not the same color as my wall. But anyway, I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna stop yapping and saying stupid shit. I know that in my last video I said there was gonna be like this big video that I wanted to do with like the introductory of like everything I read in 2024. But now that we're in April, I feel really silly posting that. So I'm just gonna, it might stay in the drafts. I think it's gonna have to stay in the drafts. I do have a bunch of ideas that I really want to do. However, I am very busy right now because I have uni. Oh, I did have one more thing to say, actually. I forgot about that. I have recently discovered the J-pop group Phantom Sita. Not sure how it's pronounced. But their music and this book, same vibes. But yeah, that's it. I'm like, do I have anything else to say? No, this is it. This is all I had to say. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening to me yap for like 40 minutes. It's gonna be a bit shorter, but like that's still a lot of me yapping. I feel like I always have a lot to say. But yeah, thank you for listening to me. Subscribe if you want to. If you have anything to add, anything I've said, please write it down, comment. Would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let me know if you're interested in the whole Zodiac thing. Like the plot recap, unhinged plot recap. It might still happen even though no one's interested, just because I'm having fun doing it. Let's be honest with ourselves. But yeah, if you're interested, let me know. And yeah, read your books. Have fun reading your books. And I cannot wait for this April recap because I really want to talk about the things I've DNF'd already. The 2 books I've DNF'd in 1 week. But I'm gonna keep that for next month. So yeah. See you then.